What's up, everybody? Welcome to Intentional, and it's me, your boy, Ty Jones. Thank you for joining me today. Let's jump right into it. Last time, we learned that God has created us with intentionality, and because of that, you and I have purpose. But if we be honest, sometimes our quest for purpose can be very difficult. And I think that's why it's good for us today to take some time and look at this conversation between God and Moses in Exodus chapters 3 and 4. God calls Moses to this great act of leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. But Moses has some questions for God that he needs some answers for. The first is in Exodus chapter 3, verse 11. But Moses asked God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Who am I? I'm really a nobody. Who am I? But God answers him in verse 12. "I will certainly be with you, and this will be a sign to you that I am the one who has sent you." The next time, he has another question for God. It's in verse 13. Then Moses asked God, "If I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' what should I tell them?" The first time he says, "I'm a nobody." Now he says, "I don't even know who you are, God." And God reveals himself to him. There's another time. It's in Exodus chapter 4, verse 10. But Moses replied to the Lord, "Please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, either in the past or recently, or since you have been speaking to your servant, because my mouth and my tongue are sluggish." Verse 11, the Lord said to him, "Who placed a mouth on humans? Who makes a person mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say." Isn't this interesting? Every time Moses has an objection to what God has called him to do, God already has an answer. This is something very, very important. Whenever your purpose is in your life, understand this, that God called you, God calls me. He calls us already knowing what our shortcomings are. He already knows what our hangups are. But the beauty of it is, just because we have places where we are inadequate, it does not disqualify us from being able to be used by God. But there's one more time I want to lift, and I promise y'all can go on about your day. And this is in Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. Moses answered, "What if they won't believe me and will not obey me, but say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'?" The Lord asked him, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. "A staff," he replied. Isn't this interesting? That now he raises another question. And God says, "What do you have in your hand?" He's already admitted to the fact that, hey, I have some places where I'm inadequate. I have some places where I have shortcomings. But guess what? God doesn't do this. God doesn't tell Moses, "No, you don't have any shortcomings. No, you don't have any hangups." No, because he actually does. And from that, God is saying, that doesn't mean I can't utilize you. But he asks him, "What do you have in your hand?" This is Exodus chapter 4. But 10 chapters later in Exodus 14, we see Moses and the children of God at the Red Sea. And when they're at the Red Sea, Moses stretches that staff that was in his hand. He stretches that same staff out, and God blows a wind, and the Red Sea becomes a highway for the children of Israel. That's interesting. Even though he had some places where he fell short, even though he had some places where he was insufficient, God still used him. But watch this. God used what he already had. Sometimes in life, when we're trying to find purpose and when we're trying to find what God wants us to do, we think we have to reinvent ourselves or we have to become somebody new. One of the first steps in your quest for purpose needs to be, you can embrace who you are, because God can use what you already have. Be comfortable in who you are. Embrace everything about you. Embrace the good things. Embrace the bad things, because God can still use your staff that's already in your hand. Got a question for you. What's in your hand?